Hello farmers and aspiring farmers, thank you for tuning into yet another informative edition of your program. This is Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness, in support of Vision 2030. This is where we discuss everything agriculture. We look at business finance, production economics, the fundamentals and the principles of business, aligning it to agriculture, given that Zimbabwe is an agro-based economy. Now Zimbabwe, today we are coming to you from Mashonaland West at Portelet Estates, where they are into cattle ranching. There are various breeds here, but in this very episode, we are going to be looking at their dairy enterprise, the strategies that they are putting in place to ensure that their enterprise is a success. I am joined by John Crawford, who is working here and the owner at Portelet Estates. John, thank you so much for affording us an opportunity to visit your premise.
Morning, Wazana. Thank you. Thank you for your effort to come out, and welcome to Portlet.
Thank you so much. As we get into our discussion, John, I would like you to talk to us in terms of a brief background of when did you start or when did you get or venture into dairy production, and also enlightening our audience in terms of the breeds that you have within your dairy enterprise.
Thanks, Wazana. I guess on the dairy side, we have, for all of my life, we've had a few house cows, which is generally 3 or 4 cows for personal consumption. But in 2015, we started with a commercial dairy, so to speak. And we've been increasing our herd since then, since 2015 to date. The herd is as you can see behind us. Mm-hmm. It's a mixed breed herd. We started with a Jersey base, and we have been crossing with the Ayrshire, and now we are introducing some of the beef breeds, particularly our indigenous beef breeds, our Mashona and Tuli, and we're bringing those in to try and have more adapted dairy cattle.
Okay, John, can you talk to us in terms of the design of your dairy parlor or your dairy enterprise? What did you put in place in terms of infrastructure to ensure that you are producing quality milk that is marketable to the consumers?
So from in basic infrastructure, we decided that we could not afford to go into building a huge dairy facility, and spending all that money on concrete and bricks and roofing. So we have gone with a portable dairy, which is very basic, it's very inexpensive, and it is moved around as necessary. Generally every day or every second day we move the dairy, and that keeps it clean.
Okay.
Keeps the area clean where we are milking.
In terms of the production economics, the name of the program is Agribusiness, meaning that we are looking at business fundamentals when it comes to any venture in agriculture. Looking at the production economics or the business finance of things, would you say your objective is mainly aimed or anchored on producing quality, huge quantities of milk, or you are mainly focusing on the quality of your produce? What is it like within your enterprise?
I suppose our main focus is on economics of the business. So we have dairy cows, we have the right breeds, we have the right genetics to produce huge quantities of milk. But under our circumstances, I don't want to be spending lots of money on feed and health and nutrition and health. So we've cut. By cutting back on those expenses, we've also got lower production cows.
Okay.
That are more adapted to our environment, more adapted to our nutritional supply, and we can maintain them economically. But we're not producing too much, not producing a lot of milk, but we're producing it economically.
Looking at the characteristics of when you would say as a farmer, this is quality milk. What are we looking at? What are those things that you look at and say visibly, and you say this milk is quality, this is low quality, this is top quality?
It's a difficult one to see visually,
okay.
But we do have our milk tested every collection. We supply Nestle in Harare, and they collect from us every second day. But when they collect the milk, they take a sample of our milk, and they test for somatic cell count, which is basically a indication of health and leading to mastitis. If the somatic cell count is high, it means there's more somatic cells in the milk, and that that leads to mastitis problems.
Okay, now John, speaking of mastitis, I understand that it is a menace in dairy production. Most farmers are always on the lookout for it, and they have ways in which and strategies in which they ensure that they are curbing the risks or even controlling it from even occurring or taking place within your head. Can you talk to us in ways in which here at Potelet Estates you are ensuring that your herd is mastitis free?
I can say that our herd is pretty much mastitis free. I believe the main reason is that we are not stressing the cattle too much. We are not expecting high production litres out of them. We've got them, if you want to put it in a term, they're almost free range. They're not locked in a shed where the bugs can breed. In the manure, they're out in a paddock all the time. We are milking in a paddock. And the chances of infection are a lot less than would be in a locked up system.
Okay, finally, as we round off this segment, John, I want us to look at other diseases aside from mastitis or insect pests that might be a menace within a dairy herd. I understand that every cropping venture or every livestock venture has its own pitfalls, aligning them to diseases, insect pests, parasites, pathogen that can be a menace or a nuisance when it comes to producing milk.
I think in Zimbabwe, in cattle production generally, our biggest challenge is ticks.
Okay.
And tick-borne diseases. We have many different ticks, many different diseases that affect our whole cattle industry. But in the dairy industry, the cows, because they are made for producing milk, their adaptability to our natural challenges is less.
Okay.
So if I get a disease in a beef cow and the same disease in a dairy cow, the dairy cow is going to suffer a lot more.
Oh, okay.
So we have to keep on top of our ticks.
Okay.
Ticks is our number one problem, so tick control, regular inspection of the cattle is our main job to do, to keep the ticks down, therefore keep the diseases down.
Okay, John, when we come back after the break, we're going to look at the chemicals that are efficient and effective that you incorporate or alternate during your spraying or your dipping routines. On that note, viewers, we've come to the end of the first segment. We're going to go on a short commercial break. We'll be right back with this and more in the second segment. Stay tuned. Thank you, farmers, for staying tuned to Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness, in support of Vision 2030, where we discuss everything agriculture, the challenges, maybe some pitfalls that might be in place so that our Zimbabwean farmers might end up shying away from certain productions. Now, we also encourage you to be a part of these conversations. Feel free to get in touch with the producer, Wadzanai Manyore. It's on 0772-807-506. Alternatively, you can like our Facebook page, Agribusiness with Wadzanai. Make a follow-up on this episode and more, and leave your comments and suggestions. They are most welcome to us. Our YouTube channel is Agribusiness with Wadzanai. We are also now available on X, formerly known as Twitter. It's at Agribusiness 110. Also, make time and visit our LinkedIn profile. It's Agribusiness with Wadzanai. This is where most of our discussions do take place. Now we are here in the second segment, coming to you from Mashonaland West, Makonde District. We are here at Potelet Estates, looking at their dairy enterprise. John, we are here in the second segment. Welcome back.
Thank you, Wadzana. Thank you.
Now I want us to take from where we left off in the first segment, looking at those chemicals that you alternate periodically to ensure that your cattle are disease-free, be it when dipping or when maybe using a spray race. What are those chemicals that you are using to ensure that your herd is tick-free?
Thank you, Wadzana. I think the important thing that you've mentioned there is the alternation.
Okay.
If we just use one acaricide, one dip, one type of dip from one company, the ticks themselves will build up resistance to that kind of chemical.
Okay. So
it is very important to alternate between the different types. I don't have a dip remedy that doesn't work. All dip remedies have their pros and cons. Yeah, we do alternate between the different dips from different recognized companies, and to maintain a clean animal.
Okay.
The one advantage, especially with the dairy, is that it is hands-on. There are people with the cows most of the day, and ticks can be picked up very quickly. So as soon as we see ticks, we will respond to that with the appropriate chemical.
Your ways of milking, or your mode of milking, is it mechanized? Is it hand milking? And also enlighten us on the advantages that come with the technique that you might be using at the moment.
So again, to follow up with my previous statement with doing things less expensively, we are hand milking. So we haven't invested in expensive machines, and one of the reasons is to employ local Zimbabweans. So all of our machines are homemade in Zimbabwe. They are handmade and hand machines. So we milk by hand.
Okay.
And the one advantage of milking by hand is that there's no zesa required. There's no pipes and blockages and bacteria that can build up in the pipes that need to be cleaned constantly. As long as the hands are clean, the process is clean. The other advantage with milking by hand is that the milkers themselves also can actually feel the udder.
Okay.
And earlier you mentioned mastitis. An udder that is infected with mastitis or anything will become hot.
Okay.
And if they can feel that before they even start milking, that milk hasn't gone into the main system and contaminated the rest of the milk.
When it comes to feeding your cattle, what are some of the supplements that you are incorporating to ensure that your cattle are receiving a balanced diet that make them produce milk that is of high quality, that makes your market happy and your consumers keep wanting to come back and get more from you?
Thanks, Wadzana. So main thing this time of year, it is a difficult and expensive time of year for dairy farmers because we are feeding everything. There's nothing that they can go and find.
There are no pastures.
No pastures to graze. So we feed with maize silage, that is the bulk roughage, that is good quality maize that is chopped up and ensiled, and that fermentation process gives us the best food.
Okay.
So that is our bulk roughage, and then while the cows are being milked, while they're in the parlour, they get a dairy concentrate, which is high in protein. As normally the dairy concentrates are normally about 18% crude protein, and that helps to give the balanced diet that they require. All stock feed companies put in the right nutrients and basic trace elements that need to go into that feed.
Now, John, you would find that our audience will be taking notes as we are doing these discussions. They might want to know, are there periods where you would say that during this time of the year we receive a lot of milk, and during this time of the year the quantities are a bit questionable? Do we have those seasons throughout the year, given that our seasons in Zimbabwe, we have our summer, we have our winter, autumn, spring? What is it like for you as a dairy farmer?
So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, with this time of year being the toughest time, there is no grazing, natural grazing. We do very much look forward to the rains, and with the rains, the onset of green grass, that reduces our feed costs drastically. And what it also does is that green grass is provided by God, and it is
healthy
it's
and
very
nutritious.
Healthy, nutritious. It's got everything that we need, well, that the cow needs to make nutritious milk. At that time of year, our solids content in the milk, which is basically your cream content, that increases dramatically, and that also makes the milk much more tasty and much healthier.
Looking at the storage facilities, from hand milking your milk, how do you store your milk? What form of energy are you using to ensure that your milk remains fresh up until collection from your market or your consumers?
Yeah, the milk is taken from our portable dairy by hand, by bucket, taken to our milk storage facility, which is bulk tanks, cooling tanks. And these are powered by solar energy.
Okay, thank you so much, John, for that. That was a very comprehensive approach that you have given to our audience. I understand that those who are aspiring to get into dairy production, they have been taking notes. On that note, viewers, we've come to the end of the second segment. We're going to go on a short commercial break. We'll be right back with this and more in that third and final segment. Stay tuned. Thank you, viewers, for staying tuned to Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness. We are here in the third and final segment of your program, where we are today coming to you from Mashonaland West, Makonde District at Portalet Estates, where we are looking at dairy production today with John Crawford. He is a seasoned dairy farmer here in Zimbabwe, working with various organizations to ensure that they are producing quality milk for our consumers. Now, John, we are here in the third and final segment. Welcome back.
Thank you, Adza.
Now, this segment is specifically set aside for marketing issues. People want to know who your market is, who's your targeted clientele. And also, before we get into that, I want us to look at issues surrounding inspection. Let us talk about those requirements. What do your inspectors look at when they visit your head, and also those strategies you have put in place to ensure that you are hygienic, there is proper sanitation when it comes to handling your milk.
Thank you, Adza. Yeah, so from sanitation is obviously our key for hygiene, for health, and for good milk, good quality milk. We do have inspectors from government inspectors who come out every year and inspect our premises, inspect what we're doing here, and make recommendations which we follow. That happens once a year, and then every milk collection that goes through to their factory in Harare, they take a sample of that milk, and every single collection gets tested. And it gets tested, as I mentioned earlier, for your somatic cell count. It also gets tested for what's known as TBC, total bacteria count, and both of those give us a health indication. We do get penalized when those numbers go too high on our milk price, so it is a very good incentive for us to keep our quality good.
Okay, in terms of maintenance and of quality and quantity throughout the various stages of production, I understand that it is what makes you viable or profitable, meaning that your market also looks at that. What are the market expectations when it comes to milk marketing? What do they expect from you as a farmer?
I suppose it's basically again on those testing that it must meet their requirements, that it must meet those requirements, and if it doesn't meet those requirements, we get penalized or get rejected.
Oh,
if it is bad enough, we get rejected. So it's in our best interest to keep within the rules.
Okay, now this is also a collecting point where you are also working with smallholder farmers who bring in their milk at your premise ahead of collection from the consumers, from the buyers. What is your relationship like? What does it mean when it says that you are a collection point? What does it mean?
Thank you, Adza. So that collection point, or milk collection center as it is commonly known, MCC, is a base, a hub for the community. So we have ours here at Portalet, and we have about 20 small-scale farmers in the area that supply milk to us. They bring milk to us every day, and this milk is cooled. Well, first of all, it is inspected by our staff here to pass quality control there before it even goes into the tank. They take a separate sample from each producer, each supplier, and that is kept cold and goes in with the milk delivery when it is collected on every second day.
Okay.
So we collect all that milk, we put it in the milk cooling tank. It is kept cool.
From our discussion, John, I would also want to touch briefly on the fact that in this business, the main challenge is the cost of production. The cost of production is ridiculously high, that at times it causes even the existing dairy farmers to want to shy away from dairy and venture into other activities, and at the same time causing barriers from those that might want to participate in the dairy industry. From your perspective as a seasoned farmer, what do you think can be be done to ensure that there is a balance between the cost of production and the income or the business side of when a farmer can say that, you know what, dairy production is profitable? Because it stands now, the cost of production is way high.
Thanks, Wazana. Yeah, cost of production is our biggest killer to any industry. But in our dairy industry, at least 75% of our costs come from food.
Okay.
So the biggest part that we can reduce is the food costs. There are ways of making and mixing your own feed. These can work, they do work, but they have to follow strict recommendations on the concentrates and that you're not missing out any vital nutrient.
Okay, you are also looking to pursue your own breeds by also actively incorporating or making crossbreeds with our indigenous breeds that are here in Zimbabwe. Can you touch briefly on that? What does it entail, having a herd of cattle that you are focusing on dairy, but it is made up also of 50% indigenous breeds?
Yes, that is, we are working hard towards that, and we have quite a lot of heifers coming into the system and some cows that we are milking now. Bringing in that 50% indigenous breed, the ones we are using at the moment is the Mashona and the Tuli, crossing them with the Ayrshire, 50% beef, 50% dairy, does mean that we get slightly less production from the cows. The milk volume is slightly less, but those cows are low maintenance cows. They don't require as much input in the forms of health. They don't get sick, they don't get mastitis, they are survivors, they're adapted to our environment.
Okay.
The other part is the reduction in feed costs, because they can survive on a lot less than the high producing dairy cow.
Okay, finally, as we close this episode, John, I want us to look at a bit of maybe an opportunity for you as a seasoned farmer to talk of your sentiments, your views, your observations throughout the years that might lead to you having some recommendations either to our policymakers, those who might be watching, your observations, what you maybe you would want to say, if we change this or if we enhance this, it might cause maybe a much uptake of those who might want to participate in dairy production.
I think as I've mentioned, is obviously food costs are very high in this country. And that is a very major limiting factor. We can take the few ideas that I've got. Those will help to reduce food costs, but basically our cost of food is high.
It's very high.
So if those costs can be reduced somehow, it would help the dairy industry.
Okay.
But I think unfortunately, I think our main focus as humans is to go for bigger is better and more volume of milk is better.
Okay.
And unfortunately, those cows do require a lot more maintenance, a lot more management, a lot more food, a lot more input. So if we can try and focus the dairy industry, particularly the smaller farmers like myself, if we can focus on slightly lower production cows that cost less money, we'll make more at the end of the day.
Okay, thank you so much, John, for telling us in terms of production economics. It's not always that, like what you're reiterating here, it's not always the case where you have to go bigger and say bigger is better. You might want to focus on a smaller head, but that is producing quality milk that satisfy your consumers in the market. It was a pleasure having with us today.
Thank you, Wazana. Thank you for your time.
There you had it, viewers. We're looking at dairy production here at Portelet Estates. From me, your host was Anai Manyoro. I'm also on Instagram. It's at Wazi110. And the crew behind the scenes. Have yourselves a fabulous evening. Thank you for watching.